Mwah. We're live. We're doing chef's kisses over here.
We're doing chef's kisses. I didn't even know that was what they were called until right now. That makes sense.
Chef's kiss. So guys, we were having too much fun. We were talking about weddings and we were talking about TV shows. Also, importantly, we were talking about a giveaway.
Yes, we are.
We were. We're going to do a giveaway.
That's right.
So Dr. McGrath, he's really cool. He has music playing. I do giveaways. That's my thing. So I give away fun things. And tonight, you guys, we are going to do a trivia question. We're going to, maybe like midway through, we'll throw you guys a trivia question. And we're going to give away 2 of Lauren's OCD magnets. So I will have Lauren introduce herself. I have this lovely, lovely guest with me. I'm flipped.
I did the same thing.
So Lauren McMeikan is here, and otherwise known as the Obsessive Mind on Instagram. I still have to get used to that change. I remember when you got ghosted for a while, or when you went away.
You're like, where'd she go? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when they kicked me off of Instagram for no reason. That was weird. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's messed up. So I am Lauren, since you asked me to introduce myself, McMeikan. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California, and I'm a psychotherapist who works primarily with people with OCD and anxiety disorders and eating disorders. And I work at the OCD Center of Los Angeles. Well, right now I work out of my home because with COVID and everything, I'm still doing that. But yeah, just happy to be here. I love raising awareness about OCD and talking OCD and trying to kick OCD's ass whenever possible. And that's, I think, me in a nutshell.
I love that. Yeah, Thank you. Wonderful. So we're going to answer some questions for you guys. We'll do our best to answer questions as much as we can without giving reassurance. Some of the questions are hard. So we will do our best to kind of keep it general so that it can apply to everyone who's listening and watching. And just so you guys know, just so you have a reminder, these are all recorded. So these are housed on our Facebook Live or our Facebook group and also our YouTube channel. So you're welcome to go back and review some old videos for some other good information, some other awesome guests. And like I said, halfway through, we will be doing a giveaway for Lauren's OCD magnets. She has some cool little things on her website. So we'll give those away and that'll be super fun. Yay. So for those of you who don't know me, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Jenna Overbaugh. I am a full-time therapist here at OCD. I also manage a lot of our community engagement. So I handle these fancy webinars. I also manage and run our support group program. So if you don't know, and you don't have to be getting services through OCD to benefit or participate in the groups, OCD does offer free support groups. So we offer support groups for just general OCD. We offer support groups for caregivers and those who are supporting loved ones who have OCD. We have a young adult group. We have a students with OCD group. We have groups pretty much every day of the week, multiple times per day, and they're all led by an OCD therapist. They're all free. Like I said, no need to be getting services through OCD in order to take advantage of those groups. They're really, really wonderful. You'll be with other people who have OCD just like you, and it's a great, great opportunity to just feel that solidarity. Having OCD can feel so isolating, and I just shadowed a group today, and it's so touching to like see and feel people feeling better, just knowing that they're not by themselves in this wicked journey. So
true.
So you can download the free NoCD app. That's the only thing that you need. So download the free NoCD app from the marketplace or wherever you get your apps, and you'll see a link for it right on the bottom. So introducing community support groups. So super excited to share those with you guys. And we're always adding new ones. We also have an art group. It's led by one of our therapists who's also an art therapist. So again, they're supportive groups. They're not therapy groups, but people have come there to share ideas about like OCD memoirs and poetry and art. It's really, really cool. So lots of cool stuff.
That's so awesome. Yeah.
They're making t-shirts together. Cool stuff.
That sounds amazing. I want an OCD t-shirt.
That's awesome. I kind of want to go.
I know. Can we have an OCD therapist group?
I know. Right?
No, it's really interesting because I was just this morning, and then I know we have questions to get to, working on a presentation for the OCD SoCal conference, which is coming up, is our local IOCDF, International OCD Foundation affiliate, and talking about how having like an exposure buddy can really make the difference in treatment, and having people who understand what you're going through, and who you can, in some ways, I know that this may sound funny to some, but find some laughter in the journey, because it can be a really dark and harrowing road if there isn't the laughter at some stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, adding some levity to it, I think, can be really helpful. And again, like, I think, you can have the best therapist, have the best meds, have the best support group, but really, if you feel like you're alone and you feel like you're crazy and you feel like it's just you, then, having that support person or those support people can be really, really beneficial.
Totally.
Awesome.
Agreed.
So we have lots of awesome questions.
All right.
So this is one that we get every time, and I feel called to answer it because I feel like if there was a newbie here who had not heard this before, we could like really do have a good impact by answering this question. This is from Monica. My OCD theme is suicidal and harm related right now. And then it goes on to say, how do you know that it's actually OCD and not something I'm going to do? I know that it is something that's said all the time, but I honestly just don't know how to differentiate it. And so I just want to, Monica, like you said, I know this is said all the time. So I just want to validate the frustration sometimes that this can feel like, but how do I know? I just want to know. I just want to be 100% sure. You can feel 99.999% sure, and it's still just never going to be enough for OCD, right? Like there's no answer online. There's no answer that we can give you that's going to last any longer than maybe a couple seconds or a couple minutes or a couple days and then fade away pretty quickly. And so it's not just people who have suicidal themes or harm related themes, right? Like I would guarantee that everyone here struggling with OCD has had this in the past. Well, how do I know that it's not actually dirty? How do I know that I'm not actually going to get sick? How do I not know that I could actually harm my children? How do I not know that I didn't actually hit someone with my car, right? Like it's that teeny tiny piece of doubt that keeps us all coming back. I don't think I laugh every time I say this. Like, I don't think I've ever worked with anyone who was 100% sure that they did not do something or that their feared consequence could not or would not happen. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Right. Well, and even I often find that people, and this is to the same idea, question whether or not they have an OCD diagnosis, even if they've been given it, because of the same exact thing. It's like, but how do I know that it's really OCD and not not a genuine threat or a reflection of reality? And to your point, the answer is that we can't know with certainty because we can't know anything with certainty. And so, sorry, I think I cut you off though.
That's okay.
You were riffing.
We've done lives a couple times before. You can cut me off.
Okay.
It's like when I have a guest at my house, I'm like, you can come over once or twice, but after the third time, like, I'm not feeding you anymore. Just go get the food. So you can interrupt me.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're at that place in our relationship where I can just interrupt. But I think that the desire to want to know with absolute certainty is so understandable, and yet nobody has it, right? Like, for example, I don't know that I don't want to kill myself either. I'm, not terribly bothered by the notion that it's a possibility in my mind because and I'm not having obsessions around that. And, it's just I can recognize it as a strange thought that just floated in because we're having this conversation. But I don't have certainty either. It's just that the uncertainty doesn't bother me. And so it's really about learning to be okay with the fact that the uncertainty exists and that you're bothered by it, right? Like making space for the discomfort that comes with maybe I do want to kill myself, right? I mean, that's what a scary thing. But to your point, so are all of the different realms. Like, what if I actually do want to harm my children? What if I actually did hit that person with my car, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this brings me back to just the basic education that OCD is called the doubting disorder or the doubting disease because it's all about doubt, right? So everyone here has that one quality, the same, that they're doubting something. And that's what the OCD continues to latch onto. We have brains, and I say we because, and Lauren is open about this, like we have lived experience with this stuff too. So we are therapists and we're actively kicking OCD's butt for you guys every day, but we're doing it ourselves too in our own way. And so we have brains that don't tolerate uncertainty very well, at least not naturally as other people might. We tend to, want to control everything. We tend to want to take responsibility for things. We tend to judge thoughts. We tend to feel the need to have that certainty, whereas other people can kind of just be okay and go on with their day, not knowing. And so, it's the doubting disorder. It's that doubt is always going to be there. We can either accept it and kind of flow with it, or we can resist it and try to fight against it and try to figure it out. At the end of the day, what helps me and what I tell my members is you can argue with it. You can justify it. You can try to take a side. Is this OCD or is it not? But at the end of the day, like, is that helpful? Like,
right.
You can argue all day. You're probably not going to get the answer that you want. I would beg the question of, is that helpful? Probably
right.
not.
And is that how you want to spend all of your time?
Right.
If you're not going to get the answer anyway, because that's the thing, is that no matter how many times you ask for reassurance, you might feel briefly the experience of emotional, not certainty, but confidence. You might feel confident for a moment that you're not going to want to kill yourself in the future, or that you don't want to kill yourself now. But that doesn't mean that, a few minutes down the line, you're going to be back to wondering, because there is no answer to that question. Your mom doesn't know, your friend doesn't know, Google doesn't know, like nobody's been to the future yet, to my knowledge. So the reality is we can't know those things. And that certainly falls into a lot of OCD falls into that category of there's just, you can't know. So if you can't know, then do you want to be wasting all your time trying to get rid of a feeling temporarily, or do you want to be out living your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is it necessary to urgently figure that out right now? Or can you move about your day, still try to engage in your values and have the attitude of, well, that thought can either be there or it cannot be there. And I'm still going to go and do the things that I want to do anyway. Right. Yeah. So as opposed to, I have to figure this out before I go and do X, Y, and Z, instead having the attitude of like, well, that can either be there or it cannot be there. I don't necessarily have to love it, but I'm not going to do anything to make it go away. I'm not going to do anything to make it worse. I'm still going to go and live my life. And that thought can come along with me. And I think in the long term, the goal is that eventually that thought calms down, right? Like eventually of its own accord, maybe that volume goes down a little bit because you're making your world bigger. But my goal for everybody would be to stop allowing the OCD to be like the gatekeeper of like, you can only go and do X, Y, and Z once you figured this out. You can only go and do X, Y, and Z once you know about this relationship, or when you're sure that you're not going to hurt yourself. Like, that thought can either be there or cannot be there. I'm going to take it with me.
Right. And it's such a lie, isn't it? Because and then you're just trapped trying to, it's like the bar keeps changing. Well, now I need this certainty about this, or I need this level of certainty in order to move on with my life. It's like, no, you can just move along with your life with the discomfort. And I think people struggle with it because it has this experience that comes with it that feels like kicking the can down the road, right? Well, but I'm just being irresponsible here, and I'm just, pushing off something that I'm going to need to answer someday. And it's like, or not.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
one
we're in
moment
the
at a time.
business of teaching people how to do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like such a weird skill to teach people how to do nothing. But I remember you said this in our last live, like it's going to feel like a leap of faith. And if it feels like a leap of faith, you're probably doing the right thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that I love that we've both said it. Like, this is specifically Monica's question, but it applies to any concept. It applies to contamination, applies to relationships. So everything that we've said apply. And that's why I love these OCD chats, because this question is coming about in the form of harm OCD and suicidal OCD, but it can apply to anything. ERP is ERP. Agreed. So, take what we say and apply your theme to it. And it applies almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. Lauren, I see a meditation question.
I love the meditation.
I know. I know.
I also see another one I have to call out, but
yeah, do it. I don't think you can click on it, but I can.
But I'm just this person, Flanoral Fashion, LOL Squad. This question about how can intrusive obsessive thoughts be automatic and out of our control, but mental compulsions not? That seems like something that's important. I mean, it probably gets talked about a lot, but
I'm gonna try to find it. You go.
So it's actually, and just it's 2 down below Monica Cook.
Oh, hey, right in front of me.
There you go. Anyway, I just thought that's a really important thing, because having that difference worked out in your mind is the difference between continuing to do compulsions because you don't know that there's another way, and making the choice to disengage and go back to the things that you value and care about. And so the only thing that I would start with, I want to hear your thoughts on it too, but
I'm excited.
I know, is that mental compulsions are behaviors. There's a difference between thoughts that occur, the sort of passive thoughts that pop into your mind, which are where these intrusive obsessive thoughts fall into that category. And there's a difference between that and analyze. Oh my God, I can't speak. Analyzing and ruminating and worrying. Like, these are actions. And so while you can't change the fact that you're going to have these thoughts pop in, you can decide whether or not you're going to actively engage in a conversation with them. In fact, I just read a Dorothy Parker quote yesterday that was like, I don't have to attend every argument that I'm invited to. And I was like, of course it's Dorothy Parker, so she's brilliant. But yeah, that's it, right? Like you can let the unknown be there and be like, yeah, maybe, and refocus your attention. You may have to refocus your attention 1,000,000 times on something that matters to you, because that question is going to keep popping up. But if you want to live a life that's consistent with your values and your goals, that's the work, is disengaging from the activities that can happen inside your brain.
Yeah, I have so many good things to say, and I'm going to try not to forget them. I agree 100% with what Lauren said. What I'll add is, one of my favorite things to tell to members at OCD or otherwise is, you can't help the thoughts that pop up, but you can help the thoughts that you conjure up. So when thoughts pop into your minds, like they do for everybody, literally everyone on this earth, we've done studies to demonstrate time and time again that intrusive thoughts are normal, that everyone, regardless of your background, where you're at, your socioeconomic status, your mental health background, you have intrusive thoughts, just neurological junk that comes in out of your control, and kind of, you didn't prompt that in any way. It literally just popped up. And so you can't help that. It's neurological junk. I literally think of, like, on the Amazon conveyor belt, like it's like a bunk package. Like, I don't know where that came from. And so the difference between that and a mental compulsion is that you are conjuring it up. I think of it like trying to solve a math equation, like 56 times 72. It takes a lot of effort. Like, it takes some mental effort, right, to try to figure that out. Even something more simple, like 17 times 5. Like, I'd have to put some mental effort into trying to figure that out. And so it all comes down to, like, what are you conjuring up with the intention of trying to figure something out, or feel better, or prevent something bad from happening? And that's what you have to let go of. I think, too, there's a difference between awareness. I'm taking this from Dr. Michael Greenberg. I think there's a difference between awareness and attention. So we want you to be aware of your thoughts. We want you to be aware of those intrusive, obsessive thoughts when they come up. It's good to be aware of them so that you can communicate them to your therapist, so that you can bring them with you or whatever. Like, just know that they're coming and have the right response. Attention is where you zoom in and you try to analyze and you try to negotiate it and you try to argue with it, like Lauren was saying. So Dr. Michael Greenberg goes over an analogy of like a security camera. So attention is the mode of the security camera where it's just superficially taking in everything, but nothing ever too in depth. So that's awareness. And that's what we want you guys to do. We want you to practice being aware of your thoughts. Yep, there, I just had that weird thought. I don't know where the heck that came from. And then you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. Attention, on the other hand, is where you are awareness, and then that's not good. I don't like that. And you stop everything that you're doing and you zoom in. That's attention. And that's what we don't want you to do. As soon as you start to do that, like the security camera, you're engaging in some type of mental compulsion. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to review something in your mind. You're planning something. You're doing some type of mental engagement with that thought. And that takes effort. It might feel very subtle. It might feel very habitual. But we have to first come to the understanding that that is only habitual, and it's not like breathing. It's not like blinking. It's not like your heartbeat racing. It's not an automatic process. There is a very small window of control in there, and it takes consistency, and it takes the breaking of habits, and it takes a lot of vigilance. And maybe this is where a really awesome therapist would come into play, where they can help you with those skills. But I always ask the question of, if I gave you $1 million, could you not figure out that question? And usually the answer is like, yeah. Okay, well then it's not automatic, right? Like there is some level of doubt there. You just have to be as willing to stop that behavior and to sit with the uncertainty of that and move on with the rest of your day, not knowing, even though I don't have $1 million to give you. And then like the last thing, I told you I had a lot to say about this. And hopefully it's applicable to everyone, because I think everyone struggles with mental compulsions to some degree. The arguing example, OCD is like one of those arguers. Like I'm sure you all know someone who argues just to argue, right? Like they don't ever intend on actually hearing what you have to say. They don't ever intend on actually giving you any slack. Like they just want to argue for the sake of arguing. They would literally argue about the color of the sky. OCD is kind of like that. And so OCD doesn't have any intention on giving you any slack. OCD doesn't have any intention on letting you have the final word. You have to just witness OCD calling you to the debate stage. And instead of taking a step onto the stage, or instead of walking onto the stage, or instead of taking your spot at the microphone, instead of full on engaging in that debate, you have to just hear the request, like Lauren said, and say, thanks, but no thanks. I hear you. You can do your thing all you want, but I'm not participating in that. I'm just not participating in that. I can't hear you. Oh. It says can't unmute your guest. Their mic isn't connected.
How about now?
You're good.
Okay. I think I somehow, because my microphone dropped, I think I somehow muted myself. I was saying I like everything that you had to say. And I love the idea of awareness versus attention. I think one of the things that you spoke to is that it's a practice. And I think that that's really important. And at a certain point, this is kind of maybe a strange thing to say, trying to differentiate between obsessions and compulsions isn't all that important. It's, are you trying to figure it out, or are you trying to push away the presence of a thought? We don't want to try and push away the presence of the thought. We do want to stop trying to figure things out. But I think people can kind of get stuck in that, like, well, is this an obsession or is it compulsion? And in like the practical lived experience of it, it's all a big mess, right? Like you usually don't catch yourself until you're mid compulsion. You've been trying to figure out something for 5 minutes, because mental behaviors are invisible and they are very difficult to catch, especially if you don't have a lot of practice with it. So it's not a problem if you find yourself mid compulsion. The idea, right, like the sort of the one thing about the conjuring, right, is sometimes you conjure without even thinking about it, right? Like you are all of a sudden, you've just checked your groin to see if you're attracted to someone, and you have an answer like, oh, well, I felt something. What does that mean? Now you become aware, oh my gosh, I just checked. You can't do anything about the checking that just happened. You can make a decision not to figure out what the evidence that you found means, because that's perpetuating the compulsion. So there's always an opportunity to come in and say, no, I'm not going to go any further with this. I'm making a choice now to stop. I think some people can get kind of all or none about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, especially with mental compulsions, they build momentum. Like I think they're like trains, right? So like you said, you can be giving into it for 30 seconds or 5 minutes or 4 days, right? Yeah. Like when you're in that rabbit hole, when you've dug yourself that hole for 4 days straight, it's going to be so much harder to kind of bring you back into awareness than if it was just for a couple of seconds. And I think that that's with practice. Like we're saying, that's the goal, right? Like you're not going to just be able to nip it in the bud and be done with it. If that was the case, then we would not be needing to do these webinars.
No.
We wouldn't have jobs.
That would be great. No, we wouldn't. And I'd be happily unemployed around that. Yeah. But
yeah, exactly.
It's true. And yeah, I think to your point about the momentum, the quicker that you catch it, the easier it becomes, the more you sort of build that skill of going, I'm not figuring that out. But knowing that you, like, I look at it as a broken spotlight, right? That you have this wandering spotlight of attention that happens to land on things that you're like, that's a random box on the side of the stage. Like, I don't really want to be paying attention to that. I don't need to now push the box off the side of the stage or like blow it up with dynamite. I just need to refocus my attention on the main action. And my spotlight is broken. So it's going to keep wandering off. And by broken, I mean, everybody's spotlight is broken. You know, you mentioned meditation earlier, and the reality is minds wander because that's the nature of mind. But like learning to just accept when that happens, like, oh yeah, that's just what my brain does. Okay, back to what I'm doing now, back to what matters to me.
I love it. I say this every time, but I think this might be my favorite live so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is good. This is all like really good for me too. Like just brushing up on my skills.
Well, plus we all have different metaphors, so it's cool to hear. I love hearing yours, and yeah, it's fun.
I just take something. Yeah. So we'll do one more question, and then let's do a giveaway.
Okay.
So this is from Anthony. This is right up your alley. Is mindfulness meditation the best way to habituate to uncertainty, or are there other ways? So I think the best way so what you're saying, you're bringing up the habituation model, which is great. I'm not an anti-habituation person. I also really like the inhibitory learning model. So habituation, for those of you who don't know, habituation is referring to just the natural decrease in your anxiety and basically getting used to anxiety. So Anthony is asking, is mindfulness meditation the best way to get used to uncertainty, or are there other ways? And I think it's great practice. I think the best way to habituate to uncertainty, especially when you're actively anxious in your obsessive thought, and you're having active urges to ritualize, is to not ritualize.
Yes, for sure.
So I guess do whatever else you want.
Yeah, you could meditate, you could swim, you could, eat cheese, whatever you feel like. That's a good way to habituate. Yeah, no, I am much more inclined toward the inhibitory learning model. I think that habituation is a side effect of ERP, not the goal. And I think if we make it the goal, then it's like, well, why isn't my anxiety going down now? What about now? It's missing the whole point. You don't habituate to anxiety if you're still afraid of anxiety. If you're still like, I don't like this. You habituate to it because you go like, all right, I'm just going to feel this, whatever, it's fine, right? And over time, you get used to it. So yeah, habituation often happens, but I don't think it's the end game. So I think mindfulness meditation is actually one of the best ways to support disengaging from mental compulsions, because it is a direct sort of reflection of that process, but in a vacuum. So I don't know, Anthony, what kind of mindfulness meditation that you're doing, but if you're doing a basic focused attention meditation on, say, the breath, and you're watching and feeling the experience of breathing in and out, and your lungs expand, contract, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're off thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, then you have the opportunity to say, oh, look, I'm thinking, right? Like I'm lost in thought. I'm going to bring my attention back to the object of my meditation. I'm going to bring it back to the breath. I'm going to be in the felt experience of it, not in the thinking around it, We're getting out of the cognitive into the lived experience. And the way that maps on to the experience of having an obsession and compulsing in daily life and disengaging is that oftentimes you'll be wandering about your day and you see a trigger, and without even thinking about it, you are trying to figure out whether you're in the right relationship or whether or not, you are attracted to a gender other than the one that you are identified as being attracted to. And the idea is that when you notice that you are lost in trying to figure that out, you can say, just like you would in meditation, like, oh, look, I'm thinking, right? Like I'm ruminating. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm not going to figure that out. Maybe that's true. That's the exposure piece of things. So I guess that's a little bit of an add-on, but I'm not going to figure that out. I'm going to get back to what I'm doing in the present moment. It doesn't have to be breathing. It could be having a conversation. It could be eating that cheese. I don't know why cheese today. I had some earlier. It was delicious.
It makes everything better.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does make everything better. So yeah, that's my thought, is that it's not so much about habituating to uncertainty. I think learning how distress tolerance related to the presence of uncertainty is really the game changer here. And that meditating, mindfulness-based meditations can help you to notice when you're not accepting uncertainty inside your mind and help you to drop the search and come back to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, awesome. I just rambled, but I feel very strongly.
No, that's great. I love it. We got some hearts.
Yeah.
We got some hearts.
Yay for hearts.
Yeah, we got it.
What kind of meditation do you do? Can I ask?
I have to, well, I guess I don't have to. I guess I've always just been a little bit afraid of doing unguided meditations. Mm-hmm. So I do just guided meditations. There's a ton on Spotify, actually.
Yeah.
If you just look up meditation, I usually wake up, I'm a nerd. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I meditate every morning before I go to the gym.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
It's the anti-pre-workout, but it works for me.
Hey, you know what? I think that's a great way to set up your day. I usually work out in the morning and then I generally don't end up getting around to meditating until the evening, but that's just how I roll.
As long as it gets done. I try to do it once a day.
I'm with you. Me too.
Yeah. There's actually a free app right now, and it's free for 1 year because of the pandemic. It's called Balance, and it's pretty good.
That's cool.
Pretty good.
I'm a big fan of 10% Happier. I don't do a lot of guided meditation, but when I do, I like to use that app because it's it's cool.
I didn't realize that was an app. I knew it's a book.
Yeah, it's Dan Harris from ABC, and he has a podcast by the same. Yep, totally. And he had a panic attack on air. I think that's his story. Anyway,
read it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Giveaway time, guys.
Giveaway. Okay. Wait, do I pose my question? I'm so interested to see if this is too niche.
Well, tell them where they can find the magnets. I'm going to link them really quickly, but tell them about the magnets. Yes. Give a little rundown, and then what we're going to do is Lauren's going to tell you a little bit about the magnets and where to find them, and everyone go. Even if you don't win, go and order some magnets. I will link you guys, so be on the lookout for the chat box. And then we'll ask a question, and the first person to respond with the right answer, you can email me, and we'll get your address and we'll send them to you.
Beautiful. So in terms of the magnets, I actually created them because I like having little reminders in my space that help me keep principles of recovery fresh in my mind because I'm forgetful and I get caught up in my day. So I turned some of my Instagram posts that seem to resonate with people into magnets. Things like if it walks like a duck and quack, or if it walks like OCD and it quacks like OCD, it's probably OCD, which is to Monica's question earlier, right? Well, maybe it's not OCD. It's well, maybe it's not, but it kind of seems like it is. So I'm going to have to treat it like it. So that's why I created the magnets. You can find them on my website, theobsessivemind.com. There's a whole page. There are 4 of them at the moment. Honestly, I like having those little sort of cues into like, and I use the little mantra band bracelets too for the same reason. Cause then
I'm such a visual person.
Totally. Me
I'm
too.
the same way.
And
I'm like,
words.
if I was like more of a tattoo person, I have 3, so I kind of am. I would just like have all these mantras like tattooed.
Totally. Absolutely. Like my favorite song lyrics would just be like all over my arm. But they're not.
Since we don't encourage you all to just go get a million tattoos, if you want to, go for it. We have magnets.
Yeah. So you don't have to be like Guy Pearce and Memento. Anyway. So
yeah, ask them your question. And the first person I will be watching, the first person will get 2 magnets.
Wow, this is so high pressure. Okay, guys. So, in what television show, sitcom, there's a hint, was there a jellyfish sting that was cured by somebody urinating on the jellyfish sting? Popular television show. Anyone? I just got off of a conversation. Well, it was a conversation about OCD and addiction, but it came up in our conversation. That's right.
Someone got it.
You guys, actually, 4 people got it.
Are you down with OCD?
Well done. Are you down with OCD? Yeah, you know me. Well, am I down with OCD?
I didn't. I said Survivor. Does anyone else remember that episode of Survivor?
No. I wasn't a Survivor person, but I do love Friends. I do. I can't even remember who peed on whom. Anyway.
I think Joey and Monica.
Was it? Yes, that's right. Because he's like, I did it and I'd do it for any of you. Yeah, I remember that.
And of course it would happen to Monica, right? Because she's like,
she
doesn't like germs, doesn't like people up in her business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you down with OCD? Congrats. You're going to get 2 magnets. So what I need you to do, you can email me at jenna.overbaugh. You can hopefully see how to spell my name. So just jenna.overbaugh@nocdhelp.com. Let me know your preference for what 2 magnets you want and also your address, and we'll make sure they get sent out to you.
Yay.
Joey couldn't do it, so Chandler did.
Oh. All right. Well, there you go.
I dig it.
I like it.
Cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, guys, they're $5. Go and grab yourself some magnets. They're really, really great. No matter what OCD says, you are not a detective unless you are.
Because some people are. I was like, well, some people are going to be able to say, but you're not a detective. Don't. I was doing Love Lana. I was doing the lyrics to OPP because the name of "Are you down with OCD? Are you down with OPP?" Never mind. I'm weird. That's why. Oh yes, yeah. You're not a detective. Take the detective hat off and walk away.
And then another one, recovery begins when you accept thoughts and feelings with no expectation that they will go away. That is a really hard expectation. That's a really hard, it's so true, right? But it's really hard when you're in the thick of it to just imagine that even being possible.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's back to the inhibitory learning stuff we were talking about. It's like as soon as there's this expectation that the thoughts and feelings were going to go away, that, you're now chasing that experience. You're now just trying to get that feeling, right, of okay, which is just what all OCD is all about.
Yeah. Awesome. How often do you guys live stream?
Well, so Jenna does all the time. I mean, we've done it once before, but I do it with you all the time if you want.
Just let me know we can just keep doing magnets. You need to keep producing awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Oh, I have the magnets here. What about that? I forgot that. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. See, so I got some magnets. So I could come back and give away my magnets.
Well, you have different colors now. You have different brands now. So you got to do some more magnets.
I know. I haven't done any recently. I should do some more. Not a detective. This is sort of for scale. You're welcome. It's the size of my cheek. In other news, I'm getting a new tattoo. Anyway. No, I'm just kidding. Of that on my cheek. I'm not doing that.
Tell us.
Yeah. No, that'd be cool.
Well, let's wrap up here with some words of hope.
Yeah. Can you repeat that quote about recovery? I keep thinking.
I think you have a magnet that says it.
The recovery begins when we decide or when we accept. There you go. Okay, sorry.
Recovery begins when you accept thoughts and feelings with no expectation they'll go away.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well,
words of hope.
Two more questions. How often do we do live streams? So I am here generally every Monday, and I usually have a wonderful fancy guest with me. Not all of them are as beautiful or have these wonderful magnets like Lauren, but we do try. So I'm usually here every Monday, but we have other webinars going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of every week, 7 p.m. Central. But like I said, they're all recorded. They're all housed on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. And then someone is also asking, if someone can't afford therapy, is there a program you'd like to recommend that's free? So I always, Adobe Flash Player. Am I still here?
Yep, you are. Did your computer try to hijack your experience?
Every time I do a live, it asks me to update my Adobe Flash Player, and I think I'm losing my mind.
Hey, stop trying to get her to update. She doesn't want to. Peer pressure.
I don't even, what do you even use Adobe Flash Player for anymore?
I don't know.
Do we use that? Okay. Anyway.
Probably.
Kimberly Quinlan has an amazing course called ERP School, where, if you don't have access to a therapist, if you're low on funds, if you are just kind of in between therapy experiences, or if you want something to help you with recovery and maintaining recovery. So if you go to erpschool.com, I think it is, or just Kimberly Quinlan's website, you can Google Kimberly Quinlan, and that's really amazing. We also had Nathan Peterson on here I think just a week ago, just last week. Nathan Peterson is also incredible. He's over at OCDandAnxietyOnline.com. And he also has a really awesome similar course that's self-guided. So if you can't have access to a therapist, if you can't, make that happen, then those are two really excellent resources.
Totally.
Yeah. And the free support groups, like I said, I think that, they're supportive, but they're also very educational. So you're going to hear from other people's stories. You're going to, hear from the OCD therapist who's helping facilitate everything. And those are free. That's no gimmick.
That's so awesome. So awesome. Also, I'm going to plug a book that I really like. It's John Hirschfield's first book with Tom Corboy, who's the director of the OCD Center. And that's not why I'm plugging it. It's genuinely one of my favorite books. It's the mindfulness workbook for OCD. It's a workbook. So it's not a substitute for treatment, but at least, again, it sort of walks you through a self-help plan.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, wrap up. Why don't you tell them really quickly where they can find you?
So you guys can find me at The Obsessive Mind on Instagram. And I also have my website, which is theobsessivemind.com. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, although I'm mostly on Instagram. I do a live series with Kelly Frankie, although we've been a little bit less consistent of late, called Purely OCD, where we talk about all sorts of different subtypes and issues related to living with OCD. That's on Instagram. Usually it's Mondays at 12:30. So hopefully we'll be resuming that in the near future. And I think that's pretty much it. Those are my places on the interwebs where you may find me. And hopefully we'll get to play again soon, because I like doing lives with Jenna, because it's fun.
That'll be so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love her. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Yeah, this was much better than our last live when my Wi-Fi was cutting out and I was holding you like.
Oh my God, I remember that. And you were like trying to run around the house.
It was
so good that it's working.
Gosh, it was a workout. It was a workout.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I'll be on the lookout for an email from All About You. What was it? Who was it?
All About.
Are you down with OCD?
Are you down with OCD? I should have remembered that. OPP.
Are you down with OCD? It's stuck in my head now.
It is. It's so good. And whichever ones you want, just let Jenna know, and I will accommodate.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, we'll get it shipped out. And guys, thank you so much. Lauren, thank you. I love you, like I said, and I wish you guys the best in your recovery, and I will see you sometime soon.
Bye.